Now it's all come down to the finals. Serral finally here, where actually it feels like he just continues to power up. Serral in finals, pretty good. He's pretty good, Zerg. Now we start on Pride of Alteris for all things, almost like getting kind of the weird map out of the way, because this does lead to very weird games. Case in point, Reynor with the gold.
Already heading into a classic dynamic between these two. Serral a little more conservative, goes for the standard expansion. Reynor straight away hatchery first on the gold base. The gold base, of course, gives you plus about 40% mining on those mineral patches, but normally, you get less of them. Not on this map, though, because Pride of Alteris is absolutely insane. And they've decided with this map, look, that base is so far out in the middle, it's so hard to defend. You get a full 8 gold mineral patches. It is a massive boost to the economy of Reynor. The problem is, how do you defend it?
Usually one of the weaknesses of a base out here like this is that a couple of Baneling run-bys could actually be devastating. Oh, okay, speaking of which, wow, I didn't even time that on purpose. I didn't even drones go down.
Where did it come from, Zombie Bro?
No, I was actually just about to point out that the Overlords were properly placed to stop that from happening. And then,
so 2 Banelings came from up here on this high ground, this sort of angle. Serral's going to do it again. And this is just so clever. Look at that. Oh, wounded drones. In the open, he gets one of them. But a good stack there, and the Baneling does take out the other Zergling. Only one more drone going down. Serral currently up 3 workers. And these sneaky Banelings going to be continuing to branch on in from multiple angles. Both sides going for roaches. Now, the income advantage is not really there for Serral, simply because of that gold base. It's actually Reynor, who has been mining more money for a lot of this game. Serral still has work to be done.
The flickering blue arrow that you see means that Reynor does have the advantage even with this damage. He is forced to pull away once again. 5 more drones go down, keeping him actually at basically a 5 deficit, now up to 7. But that's going to be perhaps temporary. Serral not really on that gold base. Might eventually, right, get it to a 4th or maybe even a 6th, depending on how long this game goes. But that is for later. Right now, what we have very important to talk about is Serral getting some roaches, +1 timings, lair timings. What are they actually going to be going into next? Because apparently this gold base has actually not influenced the game as much as we were expecting.
Yeah, this is really fascinating to see, because Serral just a couple of Baneling waddles in, and Reynor with some uncharacteristic slow responses. You pointed out he had the Overlords out front to spot. He had time to react, but he didn't notice that Serral was keeping him occupied, and now Serral poking forward with just a handful of roaches, Zerglings, and Banelings. This is not a committed push. This is Serral literally just looking for good trades as he drones up behind it.
I mean, look how much Reynor had to react. He does realize, like, okay, that maybe that's not as scary as I was thinking, so he cancels one of the spine crawlers, but it must almost be like kind of a safeguard in your mind. Like, I have to kind of get one. I am still exposed here. Even though I reap the benefits of that gold base, it is still a forward base closer to my opponent. Should he decide to attack, should I be losing momentum?
Now Reynor has been forced to go for the attack. It's mass roaches, lings, banes, ramping forward across the map. But Serral, he's got a big arc of roaches on top of that ramp. He's got a few Banelings and Zerglings of his own. I don't know if Reynor can break this, but he's going to go for it.
He's going for it. The Baneling's trying to hit the heart of the roaches, but Serral with a split on that high ground, still attaining the concave as well. Reynor, he had a lair actually start a bit faster than Serral and had canceled it in order to do a bit of an attack. Now restarts it, but clearly one of the downsides here, not going to be able to start that +2 missile, instead has to go for the carapace. Also will not have that roach speed. So actually Reynor having presence on the map is going to be increasingly more difficult, as the Serral roach is basically going to be able to outmaneuver him. Speaking of outmaneuvering, lings do get into that natural base. They don't find any drones, but that is a lot of good scouting. Scary for Reynor at this point. We know the supplies are currently looking even, but as far as the pacing of this game, who seems to be in more control of the game, it is going to Serral, and yes, straight up the upgrade, very important. Also able to invest into Burrow and Tunneling Claw, so once again having a lot more mobility, a lot more opportunity to gain that momentum. We did have the gold base taken and then not, and funnily enough not scouted by Reynor, I believe, but Serral, even a little supply block as he pushes through here. Again, very closely army supply. Serral, in fact, at a deficit at this point.
Yeah, Reynor's got a huge army. His tech's just a bit behind Serral. Oh, accidentally leaving some roaches in the middle of the map. The Zergling's distracting him there. Reynor going for a run around. Both players will be maxing out momentarily. Better upgrades for Serral. He should be kicking into his carapace upgrades as well. He's, of course, getting Tunneling Claws and Burrow. He's going to want to do some of those Roach Burrow shenanigans. He now rebuilds the gold base after canceling it earlier. Serral kind of second-guessing himself a little bit about whether he can hold this area with those queens marching forward. That's a very wise pullback attack. Serral, you gotta be real careful. That's a giant roach attack from Reynor.
That is a lot of roaches. Serral, though, trying to take the fight on that high ground with the concave. Also, a couple of roaches coming in from the right side, distracting those queens, taking them down, taking away the transfuses. Serral with the Ravagers, with the concave on the high ground. And of course, faster reinforcements should be able to push this back. Reynor really wanted to find Serral just a little bit unprepared for a push, but that has not happened. Serral takes a very good supply lead.
I do not need to respect or react to your gold base barely at all, says Serral. I will simply navigate through the game with an almost completely standard game plan. A couple of Baneling run-bys here and there, and guess what? Well, cherry on top of the cake's the roaches. Burrow movement speed, allowing them to regenerate exceptionally quickly. Running forward, looking for some Overlord snipes. Gets a double there. Fantastic play by Serral, who's now in the driver's seat, and he's looking to split up, attack Reynor in many areas. Reynor is down on economy. He's way down on army at this point, trailing in the upgrades. And look at this, Serral threatens on the left, pushes in on the right.
He just has more stuff, and the best way to use more stuff is to actually split your attack. Reynor is going to have to kind of hope that Serral makes a mistake, but so far so good on the Serral side of things. Realizes that he is in fact winning that left side and getting his roaches into the main, and Reynor just taps out. Serral with a very convincing game number one.